All right, we're recording now. As I was saying before, I realized I wasn't recording. When you take the quizzes, please be careful. Make sure you read the questions carefully because some of them can be tricky. The quizzes are supposed to be 2 attempts, and see your questions, your answers after the last. See the correct answer after the last attempt. So I've got to fix that because the quizzes are the fodder for the final exam for those of you choosing to take the final exam. As I was saying before, I got a bit of a throat thing. I only have about 25 minutes of talk time, and I didn't want to cancel on you guys on week 3. So I'm just going to go through code, answering questions that people here have about the code, and then we're going to call it a night. And then next week's a big week. Next week we talk about joins, and that's like my favorite thing to talk about. I love joins because joins is where all the fun happens. Start putting things together, getting tables to dance. It's kind of fun. But around week 5 and 6 is we're going to transfer. We're going to start transferring from talking about mostly code to mostly projects. And weeks 8, 9, and 10 are almost all going to be talking about projects on the Wednesday calls because we'll have all the applicable code that you guys need to do in your queries done by week 6. Okay. So today we're talking about how to play with the where clause to get more clarity in your operator, to get more, to cut out bigger pieces of your data so you can just show you specific things. So equality comparison. So let's go back to the days of simple math. We had that and that, which is greater than, less than. We know this is greater than, we know this is less than, because if you had teachers like mine, that's the way the alligator is facing. The alligator likes eating the bigger number. We have this, we have this, we have this. You know what that means?
Not equal.
Yeah. That and this are about the same thing when the alligators are kissing. So the only difference between these two is this one here, the exclamation point equal. Generally speaking, in things like MySQL, not MySQL, but in Oracle and in Microsoft SQL Server, that is the sign for inequality for strings. It is not for numbers. It is the sign of inequality for strings. This does work for inequality in strings everywhere else, but this is the approved one. Okay, so these are all comparison operators. Oh, then of course I forgot, just equal. That's everyone that uses. So these can all be used in where clauses in various ways. So actually, yeah, these are quality. So these are equality, these are inequality, and that's equality. So let's just separate those out because we're going to talk about both of them. Okay. So these guys over here are the equality operators, and the guys over on this side here are the inequality operators. So here, select title and length from film where the length is greater than 100. That's simply put, here we are. We get 610 rows return everything that's greater than 100 minutes. When we're using where clause, we use and or. So when we use and in a where statement, and here we have where length is greater than 100 and rental rate is less than 5. That means it's going to return everything that meets either criteria. The and means return what meets either criteria. I'm sorry, I lied. I got it backwards. The and means it has to meet both criteria. The and means it has to meet both criteria. The or means meets either criteria. So if I run this one here, I get a result of 610 rows return. If I go here, I get a result of, well, over 1,000 rows returned, because that's all that's in the table.
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to ask if there are symbols that can be used in place of the words.
No.
I know other languages, but not here.
No, just and or here. Like I think like in C++, C#, there are other things that can be used there, but at its roots, T-SQL is English, and it's just like using English words. Like some places, you'll see them use this, like the double bar. In MySQL, that's a concatenation to join two things together, to join two strings together. We'll talk about that later. But that's a concatenation operator. So here, so we also have equality operators in numbers and in letters too. So we have like and not like. Like is equality, not like is inequality. So here I have select title from film where title is like a %sign. So the %sign is a wildcard operator, and that's basically say return anything that begins with the letter A. Okay. So if I run that, it gives me 46 titles that begin with the letter A. If I take this and put it this way, it gives me everything that ends in the letter A, which is 22. Now, if I put equal here, what kind of results am I going to get?
It doesn't work. Does the percent work with the equal?
Nope. I get 0 results because it's going to look for a title that's %A. It's going to look for the literal translation, what that is. If I do like, it's going to go, hey, that's a wildcard operator. Then I can get super fun here. I go here, select title from film where title is like A _ A %. So that means show me something that's got the first letter A and the third letter A. I don't care what's in the middle, and then I don't care what's the end. So everything's going to have the 2 A's there. So I can go, so I can even do this. I can do _ B. Oh, I got to show you that. I got to show you that in a second here. Oh, I didn't do that right because there's no AB. I'm make sure I got this. It's ACADE. So if I do here, I do _ I should get Academy Dinosaur. Yeah. So I can have all sorts of fun with this. So real quick, here, let me show you 2 commands I forgot to put here. I don't know if I showed you this last week. Let me do this one here. So I have this one here, right? A %. Is that going to get me the same result if I use lowercase a?
It should.
It should, but you're not doing what I want you to do. So let's see. Let me do the names table. It should be after. I think it's just a wildcard operator that it worked. Select. Oh, I need first name, last name. Last name. Okay. Okay. There must have been an update because this didn't work last semester. So as of the semester, this used to be case sensitive, where it wouldn't pick up the lower cases. So it's changed the way it's doing things. That's fine. I'm glad there was an update. It was a stupid thing it did anyway. So ignore that entire second. Normally, if someone really cared, they would go to edit out that entire time they're doing something wrong. But hey, I think it's cool making mistakes. So some T-SQL systems are very picky when it comes to lowercase and uppercase letters. So if the word was in all uppercase and you tried to do a select where title equal that and you use all lowercase, it wouldn't return because it wouldn't match exactly. Up until last semester, MySQL did that. So there must have been a patch that didn't do that. That's cool. So so here title, so under bars or wildcards, they're just saying what's there. So that gives me that. Any questions on that? Good. This is pretty, I mean, this isn't like, you know, rocket science stuff. This is just like, oh, that's how English kind of works. So this is how T-SQL kind of works. Our non-equality operators, select title from film where title not like the. And we get everything that doesn't start with THE. Select title length and rental rate where film where length does not equal 100. It gives me everything that doesn't equal 100. So it's not, it's pretty commonsensical. Excuse me. All right. Comparison operators. We have a lovely word between. Select title from film where length is between 50 and 100. So it's going to give us everything between 50 and 100. This
That
works.
includes the 50 and the 100, I found out.
Yep, it does. Includes the 50 and 100. And because I think that's the cultural understanding, because if I say pick it up between 1 and 3, you can give me 1 through 3, because logically it'd only be 2. There's only one number between 1 and 3. It's 2. But culturally we understand that. Let's see. So here's sidebar, quick story while I still have voice. So in computers, when you're dealing with things with priorities in like with Microsoft systems, talk about cultures sort of things. If I had 12 people in my company who used a printer, I would assign them each a priority to be able to use that printer, because if there's 20 people using the printer, they might want to if like the manager's trying to use the printer and like, Bob from accounting is trying to use the printer, the manager's got to have priority on the printer too, so everyone gets a priority. But setting priorities in computer networking is reversed. So number 1 is the last thing that goes, and 100 would be the first thing that goes. So I used to laugh when I did network tech stuff and set up networks, where managers would come up and say, I want to be the number 1 priority on the printer. I'm like, all right, I'll make you the number 1 priority. See, you're 1. There you go. And he couldn't understand why I always went last. That's pretty funny. Yeah. When you do things like network stuff, you need little things to make you happy. Anyway, so yeah, so between 50 and 100 does include 50 and 100. Again, you can use dates there, you can use time, you can do whatever it does, just gives you the betweens. You can also use subqueries. So here I've got select title from film where length is, and I said select the length from film where title is a cat and be dinosaur. So if I run that, it gives me a length of 86. So if I run the entire thing, it gives me every movie that has a length of 86. Okay, so here I use the equal sign. Now, down here, if I want to have a string that returns multiple values, right? I can't use the, so this is going to return multiple values, because this is just anything with a double A. So that's all that, right? So if I put an equal sign here and tried running this, it's going to error out. And it's going to say subquery. This is one of the rare opportunities where the error message actually makes complete sense. And here the error message says subquery returns more than 1 row, because I'm sitting here, show me where the length equals this. And if there's more than 1 row, it doesn't know which one to equal to. So we just change that equal sign to an in. We're saying, show me everything that's in this set, in this little subset. So if I run this, it's going to give me 4 movies, because those are within that subset of length. Make sense? Okay. Over here, I've got, and so I get here. So sorry, let's do that. Equals here. Go down here and put in here. Now, this one will actually work as well. There you go. So now we're turning 95 movies that have the same result as whatever the 6 movies here were. Okay. And that pretty much covers the code that's in this week's lesson. All they're talking about is where clauses and how to play with where clauses. Select clauses are really simple. Just show me the columns that are there. That's all it is. From clauses, we're going to get to next week when we start talking about joins, because that's when it gets complicated, where you're joining from multiple tables and how to join them. Where clauses are just how you tell the data to filter itself. I only want to see this stuff, you know. And I told, like I said, it happens third. No, it happens second. The where clause happens second. So it gets this, and then it runs this, and then it gives. Then when you're in the what I said, when the engine parses the query, the from clause runs first and pulls everything. So it takes everything from the table and pulls it into memory. And then the where clause happens next in the engine, and it takes off all the stuff that you don't want to see. And then the select query happens, and that's when it just says get rid of all the columns that don't matter. Okay. So any questions on any of this? Because my voice is just about done. I don't know if you can hear it. Drinking my tea, my nice chamomile tea here. Are there any questions on this, Morgan? I know you got here late, but I'm having a throat issue, so my voice goes pretty quickly. Someone asked the question in the comments how the range queries are parsed. I'm assuming they mean in here. So when you're doing the range, it's the where clause happens at the same time. So here's a range clause. We're saying where length is between 50 and 100. It still happens second. So the from clause happens first. It gets all the data, it puts it into memory, and then the where clause happens whether there's a range in here or not. And then it gets all the stuff out, and then the select clause does its thing, and then it sorts it by the order by. So if there are no, Morgan, do you have any questions? I know you got here late.
No, I don't have any questions. I'm a little behind in my reading. I haven't actually looked at the homework yet, but the where clauses aren't too complicated. I remember from intro to databases. So
yeah, there really isn't. I mean, until we get the joins, the only reason why joins get complicated is because the order you put the tables in reflects on how the data is returned. So you put the orders in the wrong order, pick tables in the wrong order, you're going to get the data you expect. But for the most part, the queries are pretty straightforward. The code is pretty straightforward as to this point. So where is like you said, is very simple. It's like, you know, where in that column is this value? Just show it to me.
last week in the homework, there was sorry.
Go ahead.
Last week, I selected down. Oh, maybe this was a different class. There was a joins, and then they used they interjoined 2 joins, and then they used the joins with an alias. I've never seen that, where you take your entire select and join, give it an alias value, then you join another whole thing, so you can get this 2 values and then compare those 2 aliases to each other.
Yeah, that is definitely something you can do, and it's something you do in classroom settings a lot, and it's something if you do in the workplace in a real environment, people look at you like you're crazy.
It was a database administration. Now that I think of it, I'm taking that too.
Yeah,
and they had it in the back, and it's like, I've never even seen this before. I don't even know why they're asking this. But I thought that was kind of cool that you can allocate the entire select clause, everything, and then allocate that to that alias and then compare those later, because they were pretty much the same thing. It was just taking and searching once for one thing, once for second for the other thing, and then checking to see if they were similar. So
yeah, so that's something you can absolutely do. You can take like a really long query and then throw parentheses around it and give it an alias and run it a bunch of times. So I got about 5 minutes left of voice. I'm going to talk about this deep dive thing. I can't show you in my SQL because it's not there, but and they're really interesting. If you're in a database administrator, are you using straight up Oracle in that class or using something else?
Microsoft Server.
Okay, you meant Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so
Yeah.
in Microsoft SQL Server, there's something called an execution plan, and in Oracle, they call it an explain plan. So if you ever have opportunity to look at one of those, it basically tells you how the engine is running the query, and it shows you the cost of memory and CPU of that part of the query on the computer. Right? So if you did that whole thing where you've got the multiple joins and you put that into an alias, and you have another one, the alias, it'll show you saying, hey, doing this costs you this much processor and this much thing. So when you do something like that in the execution plan just blows up because each little segment becomes its own. I'm gonna try to remember one day, like the week after next, to show you guys an execution plan because they don't show up in MySQL at all. But if you're in Microsoft SQL Server class, ask your teacher about the execution plans, because as a DBA, looking at those will tell you why a query is not working. So I don't know if it's part of your class or not. And if teachers like,
On security. We're
Huh?
on security right now. We just got like into the info. This
yeah,
week's
yeah.
on security.
If like week 8 or 9 rolls around, they don't have execution plans yet, bring it up because they're super important.
Will do.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so so to reiterate, I'll put all the code. I will get this back up. I'm sorry, last week I didn't get up until Friday. I'll put this out there tomorrow morning. I'll put all the code that's in the window here with it tomorrow. Also keep in mind, when you go to the YouTube channel to watch this, if you go and see all the videos, I have all of like last semester's semester for all these videos there. If you ever like need a little bit more explanation, jump back and watch one of the other semesters because they're all up by week. So you can watch week 3 from 2 semesters ago and just kind of look at what's there. If you need any extra help in the week, that's always there for you. Keep working on your project, working on your projects. Next week is going to be joins. Hopefully my voice will be back by then because I do a lot of talking when it comes to joins and how they work. And then next week, hope next week's a good time. If anyone, a lot of people have been asking a lot about the project, giving some really, really good ideas, I'm excited about the batch of projects this semester. So,
I don't know how it goes through the semester, but like this week a paper's due and I'm doing a project. So I mean,
on the
I plan
paper,
on putting submitting my ERD this
Yep.
week and just describing that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
And then get
I
your
mean,
feedback on how much further I need to go with it.
Yep.
Because remember
Yeah.
I sent you that sheet with it. I don't know if you remember.
There's a lot of people sending me stuff. Remind me what your project
Okay.
is.
Mine's, without going into too much detail, it's that real estate one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I think the top half of that sheet is what I'm gonna try and tackle.
Okay, good.
Because there's a lot to it. And
Yeah, there is. I
multiple-
remember that. Yeah.
And I wanna link APIs into it later on and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But
I think
all.
it's a great idea. Yeah, just that top part. Yeah. So that's a good point. So like if you start showing me your ERD, I can start getting comments on it, let you know which direction to go. And then you can submit the final one with the project. But yeah, like you said,
Cool.
the paper's just showing me what's going on with your project now. That's it.
Okay.
Philip and Aaron, are you guys doing projects? You can do the exam.
I've got a bunch of ideas for a project, but I'm concerned I might overblow it.
In this paper, just kind of jot down the ideas you're thinking about. Let's begin discussing them. I think a lot of people, it's good for someone to start with an ERD and like be 50 tables under and go, what the heck's going on here? And then have to rein it back. So that's a good exercise too on how to, compartmentalize and containerize your database so you can know what's going on. How about you? Are you doing a project? You're doing a final exam?
Project. Is there anything that kind of tells us like where we should be in the project at any given, like?
Everyone's at a different place. I mean, right now, you should be solidifying on an idea. Morgan's a little ahead because he had his ideas solidified in week 2, so he's starting the ERD now. So he's a little bit ahead of the game. But usually week 3, week 4, ideas are solidified, ERDs are starting to be written. By like week 7, your ERD should be done. Week 8, so I'm gonna say this now. because it didn't say until the end of last semester. Write your test cases before you write the queries to put data in the database. Because your test queries, your user cases have got to have results. So if you write the use cases and those queries before you before you put the data in, you'll know what data has to go in. Because you don't want to be, I'm not looking at you putting like, a fully populated database. All I care about is your use case queries return results. That's all I care about, right? So make sure, again, I'll say it again, make sure that you write your test cases before you put data in the tables. Okay, so by week 7, you should be looking, think about test cases, because you need like 8 to 10 of those. You should be writing them. So about week 9 or 10, you should be putting data in the database. And then week 11,
Do
you
we
should be making,
learn that in this class?
what's that?
Do we learn test cases? I don't remember doing test cases in the
We'll
last
talk about
class.
it. I'll talk about the test cases. I mean, the test cases, like, for example, like if Sakilla were my database that I were doing for my project, a test case would be, I want to know what month romantic comedy movies are the least rented. And the reason why I want to know that is because on that month, I'm going to have a special on renting romantic comedies. I want to know like when everyone's birthday is so I can send them a coupon. So that's basically what we're looking at. They're not test cases, they're use case scenarios. Because we're not people are going to use the database, and you gotta write the queries that support that. So when you're looking at your real estate, I forget what it is, but for example, I want to know every property that has a pool. So you want to write that query. So when you run that query, you see everything that has a pool. I want to know everything that's got 2 bedrooms, everything that has like, plum green carpeting. I don't know, it's whatever you want to do, right? So it's just when you look at your use cases are basically looking at the database, how are people going to use this thing? What information are they going to want to take out from it to make to get the answers that they want? Does that make sense?
But yeah, so you have to populate all your information first, obviously, right?
No, you want to populate information after. Normally you would populate it first, but in the case of this, your use case query. So when I grade the projects, you send me the code for your database, I run that and I make sure it runs fine. And then I run the code to populate the database, and that's fine. And then I run your test case queries to make sure they return results the way you say you would. If you populate the data prior to making the use cases, you may not populate the correct data to make sure your use cases get information that they would actually return. Does that make sense? So if you are in your real estate, and I'm sure this is wrong, but like if you wanted to write a use case, but people want houses with pools, I'm gonna write a query that they can show me all the houses with pools. But when you put the data in, you forget to put one with a pool in, you're not going to get a result. And all your test case or use cases need to have a result. Does that make more sense?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Do some more.
Yeah. Well, I'll be going so in like week 5 and 6, I'll be designing. I'll go soup to nuts on a design with you guys. It'll be the gist of the entire Wednesday night. I'll sit here and I'll walk through the creation of the ERD, and then I'll say, okay, based on this, what use cases would I write? And I'll write the use cases with you guys. So we'll have a whole day where we just talk nothing about that. I think it'll clarify that pretty well.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, but that's all that is. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I've reached the limit of my talking for the day. Thank you guys for being understanding. I will talk to you guys next week.
Mhm.
Any questions, pop them off to me in email. Okay.
All right.
Right, will do.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, thank you.